Okay, we're going to go through the setup of the 72 megahertz T4U transmitter. Let you know how that works. First thing we're going to do, we'll go over the controls here and where everything goes. This is the transmitter. Right here's your on and off switch. These are actually switches inside of these slots, and they go by the bottom scale here. You got aileron, elevator, throttle, and rudder. And these are reversing switches. So you can flip those switches and actually reverse your control. The throttle, the way they come, is going to be on full throttle. So that I would switch that one first. And you can do it with just a little, with something that'll fit inside of there. I use a tiny Phillips screwdriver, and I flip the switch, and that way I know my throttle is not reversed when I turn it on. That's another reason you don't want to have a prop on your motor when you test it. Okay, here, these are your crystals. You've got two crystals here. There's a longer one and a shorter one. The longer one is your transmitter crystal, and it will say TX on it. These are 72.170. Make sure both of them say 72.170 or the same frequency. It doesn't have to be 72170, but it can be a different frequency. Just make sure they are matching. Okay, to put your crystal in your transmitter, it goes in this slot. And what you want to do, you want to line it up with two holes that are down in there, and then just make sure it's square across those two holes, and then push it in there. And you'll feel it kind of go in there, and if it doesn't go in, just line it up again. And I wasn't looking before, so this time we're going to look. And over the holes, and I will push it right in there. Okay, that time we got close. There we go. We are in. It'll actually push down below the surface a little bit, and you'll see that my finger goes in there a little ways. It's down below the surface. Make sure that it's in those two little holes that the pins go into, and that way we know our transmitter has the right crystal in there. Same with your receiver. We want to do the exact same thing. This is the hole for the receiver crystal. And we'll line it up here, push it down in, and that's it. And that one sticks up. So now we have our crystal in for our transmitter and our receiver. Okay, you want to make sure you put your batteries in correctly in the back. Every other one is opposite. So a good way to check it is once you flip it over, turn the switch on, you should see the red light come on. That usually means that your batteries are in there correctly. Okay, so now we want to hook our receiver up so it's actually doing something. So we have a battery. We're going to power our ESC with. This is our electronic speed control. And this actually makes 5 volts of power, sends it out through the servo connector, and powers the receiver. So even if you've got an 11 volt battery, there's a circuit in here that generates 5 volts, so it powers your receiver. That is called the BEC. That's a battery eliminator circuit, and that's what's going to power our receiver. Now if you look on our receiver, there are 3 symbols above all the channels on the label. There's like an upside down U, a plus, and a minus. And that's actually the symbols for signal, plus, and minus. On your servo connector, your lightest colored wire is normally your signal wire. Then the red is plus. On this connector, the brown is minus. You want to plug this in to the same orientation as those symbols are. So our signal wire is going to go to the left toward the crystal, and we're going to plug it in to channel number 3. And you start at the top with 1, so you got 1, 2, 3. Our third channel is right there. I'm plugging it in, signal wire on the left, and plus and minus. My power is not connected yet. Okay, now we want to know if it's actually working, so we're going to plug in our motor. Now make sure when you plug this in that all this brass is covered up. Sometimes they don't put the shrink on correctly and there's some brass sticking out, and we always give you some extra shrink tube you can put on there and cover up the connection. Doesn't matter which one gets connected to the motor. And what I usually do, I put it in just a little bit and wiggle it and spread it open slightly, and it'll go on easier. So same thing, go in about 1/8 of an inch and wiggle the connector a little bit, and it'll actually spread that female connector open, and they'll slide together a lot easier, making a good connection. Same with this one, we're going to spread it open, push it together. Okay, now we've got a little bit of brass there that you can see, but the rest of them are pretty good. I would take just a little bit of shrink and put it over that portion after I check my rotation. Okay, now we're ready to try. We've got everything hooked up. And like I said, on the throttle you want to reverse it. So I'm going to flip the switch up with my little screwdriver. And I think I flipped it up. Yeah, it's up all the way. Otherwise your throttle will be on reverse. It also will not initiate your speed control, or it'll actually go into program mode. So when this switch should be up for your throttle. Throttle is right there at the bottom, THR. Switch up. Now we're going to turn this on, turn transmitter on, and we're going to plug in our receiver. Now it probably gave a beep, and the beep actually comes through your motor, but we didn't hear it, but we can try it. Now we're going to turn on our throttle. Okay, now you can see our throttle works. So we've got everything working right. Okay, now remember, if it doesn't start, make sure your throttle's all the way down. Make sure you flip the switch up on your throttle, and then you should be good. At this point, you can add servos, and I'll show you exactly how that works in just a second. I'll get a servo. Okay, I've got a servo. I put a servo arm on it, and what we're going to do, channel 1 is aileron, which I would hook, if you only have a rudder and an elevator, hook your rudder up to aileron and use it on the right stick. Just an easier way to learn, I think. That's the way I do it. Okay, so we're going to plug this into channel number 1. And remember, this is first one is channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, channel 4. Start at the top on your receiver is channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, which is our throttle, channel 4. So right now this is plugged into channel 1. It's going to be our aileron. And you can see it works. So we are good. And that's it. That's pretty much how you set it all up, and hopefully this helps everybody out.